What's the best way to get started into DeFi?
You're up like, what is it like? It could even be 1,000% in a year. But look at any DeFi, and that's like nothing. As long as it's not a thumbnail of us both going like this, like that is the meme, isn't it? That's
You know what? I'm cutting that face out. I'm doing it. I'm gonna do you dirty, Barry.
But they put a specific line in their announcement about decentralizing their platform, right? And that is the kind of hallmark of that they're going to have a token.
They can't afford to make a mistake because if they made one major mistake, the whole thing would crumble.
When you see things like that, you know you need to position yourself in the right place to try and get that airdrop.
But any other incoming airdrops?
Cheap way of getting involved and potentially qualifying yourself for airdrops is
Today's DeFi interview is brought to you by Rave of the Growth DeFi ecosystem. But what is Rave? Okay, most importantly, Rave is launching right now. So pretty exciting stuff. It's another product for the Growth DeFi ecosystem. It synergizes G tokens and PMTs. We have a full video review on Growth DeFi, and we'll learn about all that crazy stuff. What is the contract address? It has not been released yet, but that is just how new this project is. The developers, not anonymous, public guys. You can learn more about them. How do you get Rave? You buy it on Uniswap. The three main pools to do that are going to be DeFi token, Grow/Rave, ETH/Rave, and Aave/Rave. How do you earn more Rave? You provide liquidity on one of the incentivized pools. Again, those pools are here. More information in the video description below. All right, hey, what's going on, everyone? You're on the VoskCoin YouTube channel. Today, we're here with Barry, or known as Barry in the VoskCoin Discord server. And I mean, to be honest, Barry, you kind of dressed like a berry today.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I have to both dress like a berry and eat a certain amount of berries every day just to keep it up. So it's all good.
It makes sense. So today we're going to be talking about decentralized finance, DeFi. It's basically a booming sector in cryptocurrency. It's very exciting, and in my opinion, it's largely going to continue to be the catalyst of like the current crypto bull run, and just so many opportunities will continue to present themselves in DeFi, which is why we're super excited to have Barry on as basically our resident expert in DeFi. So I got the pressure on you now, Barry. It's like you are the subject matter expert. So
thank you. That's incredibly kind. And I don't know if I'd self-describe as an expert, but there's a lot of unknowns out there for a lot of people, a lot of misinformation maybe, and it's important for everyone to continue learning, and that's what I try and do. Just keep learning about the subject and see what opportunities arise.
Absolutely. So to kick it off, one of the questions we've gotten, and I thought this was a pretty good one, is basically just what's the best way to get started into DeFi? Because as the deeper we go into the rabbit hole that's DeFi, it becomes a little bit easier. Uniswap is so daunting in the beginning. Like, whoa, what is that? But then it's like that's the easiest thing in DeFi. It's just a decentralized exchange you swap coins on. So what's your advice on that?
First up is learning, research. You're watching this video right now, so that's a great step. And I know Vosk is going to have more content, moving forward on this subject. And that is the biggest thing is to learn. And then it's playing. But just on that learning point, it's a massive subject matter, and it can confuse a lot of people. A lot of people come onto the Vosk Discord and ask various questions, and that's another part of learning that people, some people get afraid of asking questions, and that's certainly not what you should be doing. You should be asking as many questions, and certainly in the Discord there's no stupid questions, and there's a few of us there that are willing to answer things for people. So absorb as much information as you can. Get on Twitter. There's a few specific accounts that I'd recommend who are good to follow, that kind of they're trying to pump their own bags, but they're usually very good bags, and good projects to get involved with, and there's lots of alpha dropped on Twitter, and I try and pick that up and put them in the VoskCoin Discord. But as I say, just learn and then start having a play.
So when you say alpha, and so like what's So just like right now, what's some alpha that's been dropped, and just that edge.
Yeah, so some key. The problem is, it happens almost every day. Something new will, and there'll just be a small snippet, something, that really small could come out that just could give you a small edge. So we're going to come on to airdrops in a bit, but in the last day or so, DYDX, which is a decentralized. They do perpetual futures, derivatives, which is a massive market both in crypto and in normie world. And they came out announcing a series round. They'd got some funding, but they put a specific line in their announcement about decentralizing their platform, right? And that is the kind of hallmark of that they're going to have a token. Doesn't mean they're going to have an airdrop, but it means they're going to have a token, and you want to best. So when you see things like that, and they were already on the list, but when you see things like that, you need to position yourself in the right place to try and get that airdrop. And as I say, we'll talk about airdrops in a second, but there's alpha being dropped all the time, and it could be from a company like that say something in an announcement. Or it could be, one of the OGs or wannabe OGs talking about a specific product or a specific protocol that's happening, or some farming, and sometimes it can happen in an instant. I heard about a farming opportunity that was launching in like 3 hours, and I got on and mined it for a few days and got 3,000% over that time, annualized 3,000%, and you pick up a few hundred dollars and move on to something else. So when I say talking about learning, there's a few kind of thought leaders out there that you can follow to pick up this alpha, and a lot of it, sometimes you won't know what you're looking for. You don't know what they're talking about, and that's part of the learning as well. You need to pick up on these cues and go from there, really.
No, that's all good input and advice. And so let's take that and go into just one of the to expand on that. One of the top questions we're getting right now is because we recently had our Gitcoin grant. We asked the community to support us. Then Badger had come out and said that they were going to airdrop Gitcoin grant round 8 donors. And so that was exciting. So we shared that. But then surprisingly, StakeDAO airdropped their SDT token to Gitcoin grant round 8 donors. And Badger is yet to do their airdrop for that. But that was a surprise airdrop. And that, depending on when you sold it, you actually would have made more if you'd held it and sold later, surprisingly. But that was like $1,000 airdrop, which is and especially the cost to participate, $1, and then a little bit of gas fee. So you could just say $10, right? Because gas is a little ridiculous. And so that's super cool, super exciting, and just a big opportunity. And after seeing that, a lot of people, their eyes light up, right? Their ears perk up, and they're like, whoa, I want the next one like that. And so since we made a video covering that, people have started donating on the grants, and it's not even in an active round. And I told them to not do that. But they're like,
stop giving me money.
Yeah. But they're like, hey, just want to throw my name in the hat. I'm like, but the hat's not available right now. I mean, who knows? Airdrops are crazy, and the next Gitcoin grant round is in the middle of March. Like, in your opinion, with all of your experiences, just one, like, I know you just talked about DYDX, but any other incoming airdrops, or simply projects you suspect or guess will do an airdrop? I know we talked about that in the Discord a little bit.
Yeah, so just before I talk about those future projects that I've got on my list and I've taken some action towards, there is two, and you've just mentioned one of them, two things that you can do that are pretty cheap, that can hopefully qualify you for some airdrops moving forward. So the first one, Gitcoin grants. So as you mentioned, the next round, round number 9, starts on the 10th of March. It lasts for like 2 weeks, I think. And what people should consider doing, obviously we can't give particular advice, but what they should consider doing is going on to Gitcoin once that round starts, and donating to your kind self or any other project that they see that they think will add value. And it doesn't matter the amount, or so far the airdrops that we've seen, it doesn't matter the amount that you donate. Now clearly, if you benefited, so if you donated to Mr. Vosk here in round 8, and you've since had this SDT airdrop, and you've made like a grand or whatever, then maybe you should pay homage and drop a few more dollar on Mr. Vosk. But so far we haven't seen any kind of dollar requirement. And that is a really cheap way to potentially qualify yourself for future grants. Now, and I'll come back to that in a second, but the second cheap way of getting involved and potentially qualifying yourself for airdrops is voting. So this is in governance. So if you go on your, using whatever your Web3 browser is, so that could be using you Google Chrome with, or Brave with MetaMask on, or your Trust wallet on your phone, or your mobile MetaMask. If you go to snapshot.page, a lot of protocols use this for their on-chain voting. So this is where a protocol's been discussed on their forum or on their Discord, and then has gone forward to their protocol for actual voting, and it's free to vote on there. You don't have to pay any gas, right? And so you might hold, say you hold some badger, or you hold some sushi, or some yam, or some cream, or all these kind of a lot of these protocols. If you hold some of their tokens, then you have a right to vote. And so go on there, see if there's any votes active. Badger have got a vote almost every week because the governance is incredibly proactive. Cream have one up at the moment. Sushi, their third simp is up at the moment. So by voting in these, it's free to vote, as I say. Try and get an understanding about what the issue is and why you should vote. But what we've seen is a few airdrops where governance interaction, as in being involved in governance proposals through votes on Snapshot, qualifies you for the airdrop. Now, one of the biggest questions I get asked from my friends, and this is kind of moving on to a similar but connected subject, is why are there airdrops? Why do people do these airdrops, right? And there's two main reasons, and the second reason is what we've just mentioned, that they want people who are going to be proactive in their protocol. So they specifically look for actions that would indicate a person's going to be involved in their protocol. So if they've so they want people who are going to be active in governance, right? They want people who are donating to projects, that are funding open source development or content creators. They want people who hold certain tokens because they know those tokens are often held or staked or whatnot. So they're trying to bootstrap a community for their protocol, and an airdrop is a fantastic way of doing it, and that's why we're talking about these specific actions that you need to do to qualify for wider airdrops. If I can, and forgive me because I will just keep talking at you, but the other reason that airdrops happen is that you and I lived through 2017 with this kind of ICO boom, and we saw a lot of shady stuff go down, right? And the SEC, particularly the American regulators, cracked down hard. And it just wasn't, it no longer, an ICO is no longer, the safest way for a protocol or a project to raise funds. So what they figured out is that they can raise a lot of money by doing an airdrop. So how do you raise money by giving money away? Well, I'll tell you how. So you airdrop to certain people, the people that you identify, as we discussed before, people that might have voted in governance or held certain tokens or taken certain on-chain actions that would make them look like a good person. But then, so you give them like 15% maybe of the airdrop, right? Then you're going to hold a load back for liquidity mining or other actions moving forward to try and keep people and bring new people in. But what you're going to do is you're going to keep about 5% for the founder, right? And that might be vested over a period of time, but you're going to keep 5%. And then you're going to keep, 10 to 15% back for the team, so you can pay people, going forward. And then you're going to keep a decent chunk back for the treasury. And then you're going to have a certain amount that you need to bootstrap liquidity as well. So to get the price up and the trading going. And so what you've then done is you've only given you're given a decent proportion away for free, as it were. But what you've done is you've made the tokens you've kept worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. I mean, if you think, if we look at Badger, what their market cap is right now, and then look at what the founder's reward is, it's looking really good for those guys, and so that's a really smart way of trying to get past the regulators, because you tick in two boxes: the decentralization element, which passes one test, and then the other one is having a governance token with no expectation of value. And that's why all these, you'll see it time and time again. They'll say, this is a worthless governance token, and it's worth thousands, hundreds of, tens, thousands, it's worth a lot of money. So
it's it's just like how I never give financial advice here on the channel. It's just, like, hey, these are entertaining videos, and truly, people can do whatever they want to do after watching them. But, due to the regulations, the last thing I can ever do is give financial advice. But hey, at least they can tell us what stocks we can and can't buy if they feel like it. But another video, right? All that crazy Wall Street bets, Robinhood stuff. It's all really interesting, and it's all a good point. And you make a very good comparison there of basically my takeaway from that is simply that, that all of these projects are basically clever ICOs in a roundabout way. Not exactly, but it's just, these replace ICOs because, like you said, they're under such incredible scrutiny. Before, it was launch an ICO, everything's great, people dump a bunch of money in, they think they'll make a bunch of money or whatever. But then the regulators crack down big time, finding millions and millions of dollars, but that didn't really matter to the projects that raised hundreds of millions of dollars. But it's still a scary proposition because why? And it's easy to pay $1 million fines after you raise $100 million. That doesn't matter. But when you're still like a startup, and these $100,000, $1 million fines could be like looming if you go that way, it's scary because you haven't raised all that money yet. And why would you do that when you can go this direction, and you can have a worthless governance token, and you can decentralize it and do a fair launch and everything like that, and you still end up with a very viable project, potentially, if it's good at all. And like you said with Badger, you talk about the 5%, I don't know if that's the correct number with them, but like the 5% founder's reward. I mean, as Badger continues to go up in price, that becomes, incredibly lucrative, and there's no production cost other than just a little bit of work behind these. We compare it to like mineable coins and how long it's taken, like say, all of the Bitcoin to come into circulation. Whereas these coins, click, contracts deployed, and now we're launching coins. And, it's so rapid and fast paced. There's no Badger mining farm.
Yeah, that's a really important point because of how easy it is. It's important to look for ones that have real value because, that there is value accrual in Badger. We'll have to see whether it has long-term value, but so many projects, because we have this open source nature in crypto, you can essentially copy and paste. So we've seen so many of these rebasing dollar tokens, and so many of them are crap. right? They're just absolute, and so many people have got wrecked. And you've got to look for, you got to be smart. You need to, look and see whether there's a community there, whether there's people working hard, and whether you think it has at least a year, if not more, value in it. Talking about SEC action and airdrops, Vosk, try and I'd like you to guess what you think the first airdrop I got was. It's a project you might have heard of. I think you will have.
Give me a hint so I don't look dumb in front of everybody.
So the SEC is presently taking enforcement action against them.
So Ripple?
Yes. So
or XRP, or as they say on or as they say on TikTok, ripples.
Yeah. So, but that is, you know what's funny? We're laughing about that now. So, so in 2013, the Ripple, came into existence, and they weren't called Ripple or the company. I think they were called OpenCoin, and they made these, and they called them Ripples. That was the name of the actual token back then. And what they did was, again, it was one of those things that you pick up this alpha, and if you signed up to their email list before a certain date, it was like before the 13th of May or something, 2013, they gave you 1,000 XRP. Well, they called them ripples then, 1,000. Anyway, I was excited about that. They were worth about 2p at the time, 2 cents, like 4 cents maybe. That 1,000, and obviously, sold them in the 2017 bull run for a couple of grand.
Hey, that's a big win. You've been cashing in on airdrops for years. That's why you're the resident airdrop expert. You cashed in on the ripples.
Yeah, that's it. Got my ripples, or rapples. They call them rapples because they had that conspiracy theory that they were gonna, merge with Apple or something, didn't they? Unbelievable. I mean, if you want engagement, Voss, talk about Ripple. These guys, they're fanatical, aren't they?
It's weird and interesting. There's a subset. I don't even consider them crypto YouTube. They're just like straight like XRP YouTube channels, and they cover XRP like daily, and their metrics are like off the charts, but their subscriber base is like not necessarily huge. And the support they get, just all these Ripple fanboys just pumping it up in the comments. They all hit the thumbs up. It's just like, I'm like, wow, like look at those metrics. If I say one thing wrong in my video, people smack me in the face with the thumbs down. You guys are like a cult.
Yeah, that's it. So let me, if I can, let me tell you about where I've been in actual DeFi, my journey, and then we can talk about where I think it's going. So for me, DeFi was talked about a lot this past year, 2020, and I was late to the game. I'm going to say I was late to the game. I decided to get in with the SushiSwap vampire attack. SushiSwap's such a good story. I absolutely love the whole saga of SushiSwap. If there's not a movie about that, I'll be disappointed. There at least should be some kind of historical record made of this saga because it's so good. Anyway, I got involved in the vampire attack, and and it was crazy. Like, it was so funny. Me trying to tell my friends what I was doing. I was like, right, guys, let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm doing this really cool thing with my crypto, right? I'm involved in a vampire attack, and then. And I'm like, I'm getting these tokens, right? These squid, right? I'm getting the squid from the unicorn, right? And then I'm depositing it with some other monies, and then I'm taking my kind of receipt for the squid and giving it to this sushi guy, and he's giving me some sushi back. And people are like, Ben, you finally lost it here. Like, this is, I could kind of got you with the whole Bitcoin thing, but you going nuts now, talking about unicorns and flipping sushi and squid and stuff. And that's because with SushiSwap they invented all these animals. So they had like Ren Rhino, the Uma squid, which is what I'd deposited in, and all these other stupid things. It's all meme coins, meme food and everything else. And so I got involved in that because I thought it was so fun. Because like the Uniswap guys, they were there was so many people angry in the Ethereum and Uniswap community when this was happening, and I don't know what part of me liked that, but I thought that was fun, that these people were angry and someone was doing something.
Your inner troll came out right there.
Yeah,
You're just like, you know what? Let's
yeah,
do it. Let's pick
yeah.
on these guys. Let's mess with them.
That's it. So I was like, yes, I'm getting involved, and it was fun. And so and that's how I learned. I was like, right, okay, let's try and figure this out. I can figure this out. Talking about learning before this, when we talk about learning, you imagine the first time you tried to set up SMOS, right? Or like build a mining rig, and you have to watch, we had to watch so many of your videos to, just time and time again, okay, right, that's how I'm going to do it. So, using Uniswap, depositing liquidity and then farming a token is easier than setting up a mining rig. If you set up a mining rig, you're going to be fine with this, okay? And even if you haven't done that, you should be fine. If you've used Windows, you're going to be good to go. So anyway, so I got involved, and then Chef Nomi, he decided to sell his founder award basically, and for himself about 10 million, and then the token price dumped and all this stuff. Anyway, I kept farming. I was like, this is still good, and that was mainly because Sam Bankman-Fried, who's the big guy at FTX, he's like he's a gigabrain. He's top notch. Follow him. Anything he's involved with is going to turn to gold. And he got involved. He came to save it, and so I thought, right, if he's involved, I want to be involved in SushiSwap long term. So I kept farming it. Anyway, what was really fun, the great irony was that Uniswap then responded, right? Because so much of this liquidity had moved over in this vampire attack and was still there despite all this FUD and the token price dumping on Sushi. Uniswap were like, right, we're going to launch our token. And I think they always wanted to launch a token, but they decided to do it early with their Uniswap. And they did they did a drop. And all you had to do was have used Uniswap at all, even a failed transaction, which can happen. Even a failed transaction before a certain date. And ironically and fantastically for me, and made me laugh even more, I had used Uniswap, but only to attack Uniswap, right? And I got the Uni tokens. So I was like, this is so good. I'm so happy about this. And so I got my Uni tokens, and they then did a liquidity mining program. And so I took the equivalent of a Bitcoin and mined on there for the full liquidity mining program, which was like 30 days, got another 100 or so Uni out of that. And and essentially sat on 90% of it since then, and done very well. There's no liquidity mining on the Uni now, just as an aside. Anyway, so the next kind of big airdrop was on Christmas Day, right? And I was pretty excited. My wife was unhappy that I was excited on my laptop when I was supposed to be getting ready to go out, but I was excited, right? And what I like to think about, and I'll come on to what it was, is if I was excited, right, to get, it's a few grand, it's decent, a few grand, and that is a lot of money. But if I was excited, can you imagine like a kid in, the countries that use a lot of crypto, so Kenya, Nigeria, Indonesia, this is like, it's a lot of money for me, but for these guys, that's more than like an annual wage. An airdrop. So this was the 1-inch airdrop. Now, why did I get the 1-inch airdrop? And why was I so excited? So we talked about alpha before and picking things up. So there's a guy on Twitter, there's another one that I'd recommend to follow. And maybe at the end of the video, I'll give you a list of some of the people I'd recommend to follow. And he had talked about how 1-inch were going to drop a token. He thought it was only going to go to liquidity providers on Uniswap, which is one of their sub products. But I thought, okay, well, I'm going to try and do some transactions. Uniswap was transaction based. I'm going to try some transactions on 1-inch, and I'm going to do some Sybil attack on this. So Sybil attack is when you use multiple accounts into one thing. So I used three separate wallets in this one. Should have used a lot more. Anyway, and did some transactions. So and 2 were successful. So 1-inch brought in something new where you had to do like a minimum, I think it was like $220 was the transaction it had to be. and one of my wallets had only done like $3. I just bought some cream just because I thought I'd only have to do one transaction. And cream sounded fun. Anyway, so I got 2 wallets, successfully got the airdrop, yeah, that was nice. That was good, and I farmed 1inch ever since. So I got the free money, and then I farmed, and I've earned even more since then. And 1inch, you know, had a dump, but jumped up in price since then. And then Badger. Right, Badger came along. I qualified. Badger, they had like such a long list of things that could qualify for the airdrop. Now they messed up with some of them, and those people still haven't got their airdrop, and they've promised to make good on that. And I still have loads of Badger due to me because of different wallets that are due different things. But anyway, they dropped it, and so I had 2 wallets that qualified for Badger. You know, I didn't fully, you know, I looked at Badger and I was like, what are these guys doing? What's the product? What's the, you know, why? Because with 1inch, with Uniswap, with Sushi, I knew what they were doing. I knew there was value. Badger, there was kind of some promises. They'd already messed up with the airdrop. I didn't know what was going on. Anyway, I held, became very proactive. I wrote the second Badger improvement proposal that failed, funnily enough. But, you know, so got involved, and you know, my Badger position now is decent, you know, and that's because they've since done another airdrop with a dig token, and everything else. Anyway, so I tried Vosk here, right, as you mentioned before, to get a further airdrop of 3 Badger from them. Right, they announced this. You know, you guys donate on the Gitcoin grant. You know, we'll give you 3 Badger. So I donated, and then of course that hasn't happened yet. Again, disappointing, although they promised to make good on it. But then I did get this SDT drop, and I sold like 80% of my SDT at like $3.50, and it's like $10 now. So, but I needed the ETH. You know, all the stuff I do, I need ETH, and you know, I can't continually pay money for more ETH, so I have to sell something at some point to fund this madness. In the meantime, Vosk, here's a good one. I got a boatload of Mir tokens, Mirror protocol, and that was just from simply holding Uniswap. So they dropped some, and we'll come on to Mirror Protocol maybe towards the end, because they're doing some really interesting stuff that people should get involved with. So that's really the kind of main points of my journey in DeFi so far.
First, I mean, obviously, I think that's super interesting, and really, I just think it's fun. It's exciting to see your passion, and you know, obviously, you know, everyone's goal is to make a bit of money to some extent, but I think it really shows through that you're also just having fun. I mean, you know, like your face lights up when you talk about the sushi vampire attack. I mean, you know, ridiculous. You talking about, you know, ram this and yam that, and you know, yeah. And then I took my squid to the market. I gave it to the chef, and he cut it up, and he gave me some sushi. Like, you know,
that's exactly it.
It's, you know, it's ridiculous. It's why people make fun of crypto. It's why they laugh at us. But you laugh to the bank. You know,
that's it. That's it.
And I so often think, so I am, you know, I'd class myself as a profit maximalist, but my unit of account is Bitcoin, and you know, I essentially only want you know, Bitcoin long term, and you know, there is that meme, have fun staying poor. I'm having so much fun with this stuff. Like, if this doesn't work out, you know, I've still got my, you know, my Bitcoin and stuff, but this is so much fun. Like, and I do have a lot of fun, and it's, you know, to people out there, just get involved, try it, and you'll soon get hooked and start winning, and yeah, start smashing it. It is joyous.
Yeah, like a true DeFi, a true DeFi degen.
Yeah,
is what you sound like. But that's awesome, and that's a big thing that I've been trying to preach on the channel recently, especially like as the market's picked up. Crypto is so much more fun right now, just because there's so many more opportunities. You know, if you did this kind of stuff 2 years ago, to be honest, you most likely lost over here, you broke even over there, you made a couple bucks here. You know, it was so difficult. And that just like by nature makes it less fun because you're just kind of burning up your money to play the game and play around. Whereas now, I mean, it's really it's not exactly this simple, but it's like hard to go wrong in the market. Like, oh, I bought this one and all I did was go up, 50%. If I would have bought that one right now, I'd be up 3x. And that's the kind of market we're in. It's kind of crazy. It's like, you bought 1inch a couple weeks ago, maybe like a week and a half ago, you 2x your money. And it's the same with uni. And then, if you'd bought Ethereum, then maybe you're up like 20% per its price at that time, which like, oh, it sucks. I totally missed out. Or like, oh, I should have bought Aave. I knew I should have bought Aave when it was, but I didn't want to buy it in the hundreds. But now it's almost at 300. And it's just like, I mean, really, like everywhere you look, it's just that everything's pumping, more stuff's launching. And like the fact, like, I'm not super up to date on StakeDAO and the SDT token, but I know that it's increased since the airdrop, which I just found astonishing, because you traditionally airdrop happens and it dumps. And it's literally like a race to dump your coins as quick as possible to try to get the most, Ethereum or whatever you want out of it. And then if anything, you buy back in later. But, in their situation, I'm the, not exactly, but in the comparison of potential gains, right? I'm the loser, I lost out by dumping. So it's an interesting market I think we're in, and it's different, it's changing, it's evolving. And I just think it's really funny that people think that DeFi is going to die. It's like, dude, have you looked at the gas fees? Ethereum is booming as far as usage goes. It's a highway that's, congested every single day. Yep. And as Ethereum increases in price, when you see that USD amount associated with gas fees, which are the Ethereum transaction fees, which I know but just for anyone watching, it's it hurts. Yeah, I'll do that swap. They're like, okay, $89. And you're like, oh my gosh. Yeah. But so.
And that is something, it does prohibit, new entrants, unfortunately. So, it's the rich get richer, so I can afford to continue to do transactions and take part in the things I want to do. But someone coming in with only $100 or $50 isn't going to be able to do DeFi on Ethereum. And we'll come on to that in a bit, because there is some things they can do that can, as on top of those two things we mentioned earlier, the donating, and if they're willing to donate to you in the next Gitcoin grant, so put 10th of March in your diary, or your girlfriend diary, or your wife diary, and then voting, snapshot voting, if you've got any tokens to make sure you vote. But on top of that, there are some much cheaper ways to get involved in DeFi, and the returns are just as good in terms of farming and liquidity provision, etc. So yeah, that's we'll come on to that in a bit.
So that's a question, more or less a question that was asked is, what in your opinion, what's the minimum to participate, like USD dollar amount to participate in DeFi on the Ethereum blockchain? Like if you just had to put a rough number, how much money do you need to play the game and likely be successful, taking into account that you're going to have to pay multiple gas fees to get in and out of anything?
It's really tough. So I my latest or the last time I did a Sybil attack round, I got essentially one Ethereum, split it over 10 accounts, so you're going to lose a little bit from withdrawing from the exchange, and then I moved that around, and essentially you're not left with much at all, very little at the end because of the gas fees, but that for kind of airdropping is okay, but it's so tight, and the problem is there's two things. Firstly, I mentioned before about Bitcoin. You really need to secure your bag of Bitcoin, because for me, Bitcoin's the only thing that's going to be around, the actual, I know for sure is still going to be here in 15 years, or more. So secure your Bitcoin bag is something that's important. Bitcoin is freedom, and altcoins, we're just here for the fun and the games and the greed, really. We can make a lot of money with these altcoins, and hopefully we can, get in and out and move around at the right time. Anyway, so it's only use money that you're happy to lose entirely, because even now Badger, they've got $1 billion US in total value locked, right? And it could all be taken by someone. There could be a contract exploit. And you can buy insurance. I don't want to talk about that, but you can. But it's only invest what you can afford to lose entirely, and a lot of people don't have money they can afford to just lose. So to give you a number, I'd say you need at least $500, $1,000 if you want to do some effective moves in the market. Otherwise, you need to be on a different platform. And I have two that I would definitely recommend, which are Binance Smart Chain. So everyone's heard of Binance. You need to get BNB, but the Smart Chain version, that's a little bit of complication in a wallet like Trust Wallet. And then you can get involved in Pancake Swap's the largest. There's also a new one, Beefy Finance, and Pancake Swap. You can be still getting north of 200% APY, 300% APY. They've just done a partnership with Mirror Protocol to work on Binance Smart Chain, and the most I've ever paid for a Binance Smart Chain transaction, I think, was like 13 pence, so like 15. Maybe 16, 17 cents, which at the same time, if I was doing that on Ethereum, it would have cost me 20 pounds maybe. So that's where the action's at for people that don't have a lot of monies. And again, Mirror Protocol proper on the Luna protocol. Luna's just going crazy, as is Mirror. Because of the really smart things they're doing, is another really good way, and they're doing some great stuff with stonks, so you can liquidity mine stonks, which is just nuts. And the next set of the proposals that have just gone through, again, I voted on those. You're actually going to be able to stake like Google, right? So you can be able to buy some shares in Google, some synthetic shares of Google. And then you can stake them and earn more Google shares. That is pretty crazy, and you can do that with Netflix, Google, Apple, all your favorite stonks. And I'm sure they'll have GameStop on there soon. I'm kind of disappointed that they haven't been quicker to move on GameStop and AMC and BlackBerry and Nokia and things. But it's that's where it's at for people that if you've only got a few dollars that you can play with, you need to be looking at these other chains, because Ethereum's gonna suck because of the fees, because everyone's trying to do stuff. I'm there, you're there, and there's 100,000 people all trying to do transactions.
So what do you think about Tron and their DeFi? Because I don't know if you've seen the news yet, but this morning, basically Justin Sun said that he's backing. Basically he's backing Wall Street bets. He's buying $1 million worth of GameStop stock, and he's like, Tron, TRX are behind you. I'm buying this in my Asian morning. We're bringing the Asians. And I'm like astonished this dude even still talks like that in 2021. You can't talk like that, my friend. But I guess you can if you can't, whatever. That's a whole different thing. But the point is that anyway, he did that. And now before we got on this call, I saw Tron was up like 30, 40%. I think just in the last hour, and it's up like 44% in the last 24. And Tron has been pretty flatlined, and I've noticed they've been trying to, break into DeFi or become more relevant in DeFi, and we've recently looked at a couple projects that have launched on their chain, and I just thought that was pretty interesting because that's classic Justin Sun marketing, is throw a bunch of money at something, say, hey, I'm doing this because I support you guys, by the way, Tron, TRX community, and and so it's always a shameless plug with him, but anyway, just curious on your thoughts on that.
So Tron was a fun one. So in 2017, early 2018, I'd written it off as just, crap, because they'd said it was going to be the gaming kind of blockchain. And I just knew that you're not going to have Call of Duty on the Tron blockchain, right? it's just not, that's not going to happen. So I'd kind of written it off until I fully appreciated what they were doing, and I got involved in Tron in, it must have been 2018, and did a few games, and Tron was the king of Ponzi games. So we had P3D came out on Ethereum, which was a very successful Ponzi game. And I played that that must have been 2018. Played that, made a bunch of money. And then, and then Tron just took it and ran these Ponzi games. They just were killing it with so many of these knockoffs and different things, and some of them are still successful. In the Discord, someone was asking about Bankroll, which is been successfully running and providing yield for years now. One of my close friends, he's just been rolling on Bankroll for a long time. The problem is that I don't know whether Tron, they're just too far behind now on actual DeFi. So Justin brought out Sun token, and there was some liquidity mining, and I did that with a decent amount of capital, and enjoyed it. I've still got Tron Link on my browser, and it still gets rewards because I mined Wink tokens for, well, they weren't called even Wink. There was what do they use to call it? Dice? Was it Dice to begin with, and then they launched the second one, and that's an online casino that you kind of mine more tokens by gambling, which was fun, and made a bunch there. But I worry that Tron just is behind. It's weird because they have, a decent enough community. They have a big war chest. You mentioned about what Justin's dropping on these kind of marketing campaigns. What he paid Buffett, what he's paid for charity to have lunch with Warren Buffett, what he's done with this, buying some GameStop shares, or at least options, or whatever he's done. But they're just not developing things fast enough. And the thing about DeFi is it's all, people talk about Lego. Okay, so you need, if you gave your kid one piece of Lego to play with, they're gonna get bored, right? There's like, what am I supposed to do with this? But if you give them a bunch of Lego, they can build some really cool stuff. And that's why Ethereum is just smashing it, because they've got so many pieces of Lego. Now, let me try and explain that for you, right? So, Badger. So I have, I got airdrops and Badger because I had voted in some governance proposals somewhere else, right? So that's kind of two pieces of Lego. I then took my some of my Badger and put it together with some other wrapped tokens on another platform, another piece of Lego, and put it in, and then staked it. So I've got another piece of Lego, and then and it just all builds up. And then now they're talking about taking those Lego blocks and being able to put them somewhere else to get additional yield. So for instance, just on that, so yeah, I had my Badger, I had these, then they gave me my Dig, and then I've done the same with Dig, so I put my three together, and then Klondike came out, we talked about it in the Discord, and I put those with Klondike for a bit and earned some yield off them. So liquidity and activity begets more liquidity and activity because it's there. So the reason why Mer and Terra works is because they're interacting, so that you can do it on Ethereum, and you can do it on Binance Smart Chain, and you can do it on Terra. Binance Smart Chain works because there is actual tokens being launched on there with the backing of Binance, because they've got this massive thing, and Justin just hasn't been able to develop as much with Poloniex, the exchange he bought, which was an OG exchange, and Tron as the others. So my view, there was a really good tweet by a guy, I forget his name now, where he did two tweets separated by about an hour, and he just put like the tickers, right? And he put the tickers of legacy chains, right? Well, not called legacy chains, but these kind of Tron, Cardano, maybe Raven, all these kind of ones that were like, our favorites from the past 4 years, or the community favorites. There's a lot of bag holders, right? And that post got so many more likes, retweets, comments than the one he did an hour later, which just had DeFi tokens, right? And that shows two things. One, that we're still very early in DeFi, but that two, there's a lot of backholders of these old chains that may never go anywhere, or that you're going to do well. Like Cardano, again, you'll have people in the comments getting really angry right now, me talking about Cardano. You're up like, what is it, like, it could even be 1,000% in a year. But look at any DeFi, and that's like nothing. Like, that's like such small gains, and these things are going to outpace and push so many of these ghost chains down, including, unfortunately, Tron. As you said, it's been flatlined for some time. It'll have some pumps. You'll do well if you're holding Tron, don't get me wrong, but you'll be outperformed by DeFi tokens for sure.
So have you heard anything regarding just gas fees? Do you think that there are any incoming solutions for gas fees anytime soon from third party? Do you think that Ethereum, one of the slowest moving blockchains I've ever seen, is going to have a solution that isn't simply just like cutting mining rewards more? Because like one thing that comes to mind is like the Chi token from 1inch, and how it's almost like you prepay gas fees there. And I messed around with it a little bit, but it's incredibly unuser friendly. There's no way in its current state that that's ever relevant, because it's just it's just incredibly not user friendly. But anyway, so just curious on your input regarding that.
Yeah, so a few things. Firstly, yeah, Ethereum, the development on Ethereum, the actual blockchain, is almost hilarious. When you have centralized teams, as Ethereum essentially is, you would expect things to happen reasonably quickly, but it doesn't. It's almost unbelievable, considering some of the changes that happen in other chains so quickly, the development that happens on them. But anyway, there's Ethereum 2.0 will happen at some point. Whether it'll happen in the way that they've discussed or it's years off, I wouldn't worry about that. But what is happening is layer 2 solutions that are already happening, and where they manifest themselves is in specific products. So if you hopefully we'll get to talk about Polymarket as an example later on, or DYDX, I get. There's a few of these exchanges where the decentralized exchange is entirely decentralized, but they have kind of a secondary wallet for you on these second layer solutions. So someone was talking in the Discord about Loop Ring, and that's an example. So you'll get on there, and once you've done your initial gas, your kind of initial transaction to get it there, it's then virtually free to then transact and do transactions. But when you want to get it out or move to another side chain, another second layer solution, there's going to be an additional fee. So what we're seeing is the kind of Andre Cronje alliance that the consortium that he's building. So that's Cream, Pickle, Sushi, Wi-Fi. Who else has he got? Cover. There's a few anyway. A few of these kind of big DeFi. He's the biggest name in DeFi, the creator of the Wi-Fi token. And what he's doing is, because he's kind of bringing people together into this loosely formed alliance, they'll all move on to the same second layer solution. And what that'll do is you could then go in, do your sushi, do your cream. You can do all of these things without paying much gas or zero gas. And so ultimately that's where we'll go. Is it good for users and fees? Yes. Is it good for further decentralization? Not really, but Ethereum's never quite been decentralized anyway. So yes, that's where gas is going. It's going to continue to be high on the actual base layer.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, and that's good input, and that makes sense. And I mean, you think about it in the short term, I can't imagine anything else. Like Ethereum, they want their 2.0 proof of stake chain. They think transactions will be faster and cheaper, but that is years away. They have such they can't afford to make a mistake, because if they made one major mistake, the whole thing would crumble. And just and that, I mean, that is a terrifying concept from their point of view. You have it's just a classic pressure build. You have so much living in your ecosystem, and you're trying to literally transplant the entire ecosystem into like a new world. So good
Just
luck.
on that, talking about that we need to be wary, or they need to be wary about making mistakes. We have seen major protocols make some pretty big mistakes and survive. Ethereum had the DAO hack, which gave us Ethereum Classic, and then Polkadot, which is one of the dark. When we talk about other chains that might do well this kind of bull run, Polkadot is one, but you would have seen on the Discord I have very particular concerns about Polkadot. But they had a very big problem. They had a big it was called the you will have heard about it. Many of the listeners and watchers will, of the parity wallet issue, where they lost at the time like $110 million worth of ether in an exploit on their kind of treasury wallet, that some guy just went in and said, lol, press some buttons, and it all went poof, and it's gone forever. And Ethereum wasn't going to bail them out with a rollback for those guys, because they'd left, Gavin had left, and Gavin, he wrote Solidity, like the language that Ethereum works, he wrote it, right? And he built this wallet and then got exploited and lost all his money, like all the the treasury for Polkadot. And now Polkadot is unless Doge has taken it over since we've been on this call, I think it's like a number 4, including USDT. So it's so we can have mistakes, but I really hope they don't, especially if Ethereum would really hurt a lot of people, and that's the primary concern is that it would hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it would be just absolutely devastating, because I think also when you think of Polkadot, just generally you have a more advanced user base because it's newer. There's so many people exposed to Ethereum. I mean, even just in my opinion, naive ways. For example, people who have bought Ethereum on Robinhood. Robinhood's like a hot topic right now, as I know and you buy Ethereum on there, but you can't take it out. So one, did you even buy Ethereum? Who knows? But that's like just another way you have like basically all these noobs exposed to Ethereum, and all those noobs, really, I hope they one day level up and become actual crypto users, and you actually own the Ethereum, get on chain, participate. But when you think of like the dot exploit, it could have never impacted this whole legion of noobs. Whereas if something, if Ethereum were to crumble from some huge kind of exploit, the impact would be huge. And Ethereum is in, multiple trusts, and it's in like multiple projects' war chests, in addition with things like Bitcoin and stable coins and their own coins. It's just, it's so vast.
And that is, if I can, and you may disagree or get upset with me saying this, but that is why I'm long-term bearish on Ethereum, and it's because they have these central points of failure, because the blockchain is so significant with bloat, because there's so many transactions going through, doing so much computation. The people running nodes is limited, and in fact, almost everything goes through some central servers that are hosted by Amazon. And Amazon, they're switching people off for having opposite political views. You only have to have some people upset that Ethereum's doing something that they don't like, and Amazon are going to turn off Infura, and we're all stuffed, and you can't do anything on Ethereum. So it's it's worth considering those kind of tail risks when you're involved in Ethereum, and why those tail risks don't necessarily exist in Bitcoin.
Absolutely. So before we close out, just a couple more questions, if you'd like to answer them. So one would be, I think this is an interesting one. Is what's your advice on managing impermanent loss? I mean, is that even a thing? Can you manage that other than just simply your exposure? Or just rebalancing, or just simply backing out of liquidity provider positions if things are not going the way you want?
Yeah, it sucks. I only provide liquidity and expose myself to impermanent loss if there's farmable rewards that I think are going to outweigh any losses. So I'm not providing liquidity on Uniswap, apart from where I've taken my LP position and given it to someone who's providing me additional tokens for doing so that's got incentives. Sushi Swap obviously have incentives, and I'm incredibly bullish on Sushi. I think it's going, really going places. And it's in my view, when I have some additional fresh capital to inject, Sushi is just behind Bitcoin. But that's almost the only way to think about it, especially when your unit of account is either Ethereum or Bitcoin, because you're often paired. And so, because the really annoying thing about impermanent loss is the token you really want, you're going to have less of, because it's the one that goes up in value. So so it's bad is the short story. Now there's a few places, if I can. So Dodo exchange, cool exchange, they have a function to try and limit impermanent loss, where you can do single asset deposits. They don't have that many assets in that program, but they have a number. So that's Dodo exchange, and then you earn yield in Dodo, which is again moving well, and that's a cool exchange. And the way I heard about them, is I was on 1inch doing a transaction, and Dodo came up as the cheapest, the best exchange to move through. And I had a look, and I ended up putting some of my synthetics on there, because I'm not willing to take debt out against the synthetics. That's the typical way to mine synthetics. So I put it on DodoX. Now, the other place that I have some deposits that aren't as susceptible to impermanent loss is Bancor, BNT, and they have a program, they call it Shield something. There's a picture of a shield, I can't remember what they call it. It's there. And they have a maximum amount of assets that can be put in. So I have some Ren in there. I've got some synthetics in there, but the chance of you being able to put something in now are slim, because they, as I say, they limit the amount that you're allowed to put in, and then it's for a certain period of time to try and bootstrap liquidity. And I don't know whether they'll repeat that. So in short, the two answers are: I don't provide liquidity unless I'm getting additional farmed rewards that make up for any impermanent loss. And then and secondly, I look for exchanges or solutions where I can do one-sided asset deposits.
That makes sense. And so that brings up another question: is you talk about locking up, all right, bootstrapping liquidity and things like that. What's your opinion on lockup periods? And not necessarily just like, core style, like, pump it up, first in, first out kind of thing, that basically end up, unfortunately, just as like a Ponzi dump scheme or pyramid scheme, whatever. But like, do you have a tolerance where it's like, this needs to be in here a week? And just kind of, how do you evaluate different situations like that?
Wu-Tang Financial said, and let me make sure I get this right. So cash rules everything around me, except when other assets provide better risk-adjusted yields when accounting for liquidity preference. And that liquidity, and that liquidity preference, my liquidity preference is crazy high. Like, if I can't get out of a position like now, I don't want to get in, because access to cash and moving it. So let me tell you about getting burnt, although I haven't got burnt, but it makes me so angry. And I've mentioned this in brief to you, and you may get upset about me mentioning it now, is crypto.com. I mean, I've made a lot of money on there, but it hacks me off. Like, because they keep changing the rules, and that is the antithesis of what crypto is about. code is law in crypto, and they keep changing the rules on me. And that has affected the token price, as you are well aware. So I have, man, it was worth like, man, makes me angry just thinking about it now. Like, especially, I mentioned to you, Bitcoin being my, unit of account, to see it went down like 90% in Bitcoin terms. And I had a lot on there, Drew. That makes me mad. And like, it's one of those fun, that meme where there's the guy crying behind the smiling mask. It's like, oh, crypto, like the coin's gone up like in USD terms, and I'm there crying behind because I don't care about USD. Like, that's not what I'm about. Yeah. And so crypto.com, that's annoyed me, and it's because they changed the rules. And let me tell you about another one that I might get burnt on, but so I've locked up some uni tokens, my uni tokens, all the uni tokens I have, with it's a cool project called 88 miles per hour, 88mph dot app, no app.mph dot search 88 miles per hour, DeFi. And what they do is they've got some really cool products. Again, this is not for anyone that's watching this because they want to learn about DeFi. Do not try going on here, because you might get wrecked. You will get wrecked, because they have some really complex products. They have like bonds, interest rate bonds. The simplest product, which is the one I'm involved in, is a fixed rate APY, but it has like a catch, right? So they're going to give you a small percentage on your uni, in my example. Then they're going to give you a certain amount of their MPH tokens. Cool, right? They're going to give you them up front after 7 days. You have to lock up your tokens for a period that you decide. You can choose anywhere from 7 to a year, so 7 days to a year. And they'll give you some MPH tokens depending on how long you're willing to vest it for, your uni tokens in this example. And then they're going to give you some other MPH tokens, right? But these MPH tokens have to be paid back to get your kind of what you deposited. So that's how people get wrecked, because they get all these MPH and then they sell them, and then MPH has gone up twice in price, and then they can't afford to buy back the MPH to get what they deposited. So what I've done with this, so I deposit all my, just to give you an example, so I deposit all my uni. That's ticking over. I'm getting nice uni rewards. I'm actually getting uni back on that deposit. I took the kind of flexible amount of MPH tokens that they gave me, and I sold half, put it into a liquidity provider position, and then deposited that with MPH, with their liquidity mining incentive that they've got going, which is paying out about 110%. So so on my uni, I got about, I think it's like only like 0.5% on the uni, and then like nearly 80% back in MPH tokens. 50% of that 80 I've then put in a liquidity position to get 110% back while I've got it there, and that's perpetual forever until the liquidity mining finishes. And then I've just held the kind of what I have to pay back safe on its own. I could stake it with them and earn like, I think it's like 15%, but it just wasn't worth the gas considering how much I had. So that's yeah, on the degen end of the stuff that I'm doing.
Well, that's fun. That's fun, and that's interesting, and there's definitely advanced level, and I definitely see what you mean about like the potential to get burned when you get these tokens. You could sell these tokens, but you've got to give these tokens back. It's almost like shorting the market, and then they longed you. So,
yeah. And I tell you what, just one thing I did want to lay out for the guys before I go was some of these airdrops, potential airdrops that I think are coming up. And we can segue from what we've just talked about quite well into this, because one of them is a protocol called Opyn, OPYN, and it's an options exchange. I did a trade during their V1. They've now got a V2, and options, like options is something I need to know a lot more about, because the chance of really good gains are there, but it's seriously complicated. I mean, you're talking about gamma decay and thetas, and it's craziness. Anyway, but it's a massive market. Derivatives is huge. Like, you think the crypto market's huge, or even like just like stocks and shares. Derivatives is massive, and the kind of fee generation and everything else is huge. So it's a good one. But Opyn, I decided I wanted to do a trade on there in the hopes that they'll do an airdrop, and had to do an options trade. And on V1, it was, not easy. But anyway, I doubled a certain amount of uni, but I had no idea what I was doing. I just bought something and just put it on, and and doubled the uni. I thought I was losing it, and it's funny because I checked it halfway through, and I was just to try and figure out what I had done, because I was like, I should actually just have a look and try and figure out what I had done. Still not sure, but when the kind of option expired, I got double my uni back. So whatever I did well enough.
Spend it to win it.
Yeah, that's it.
To win it.
And the hopes is that they'll airdrop a token. And why do I think they'll airdrop a token? Okay, so Hedrick is another really cool options exchange. It's got an anonymous founder. She goes by Molly. He goes by Molly. Anyway, they're kicking it. The token price is booming. It's doing really well. They have said, not that they're going to launch a token, but again that they're looking to decentralize their kind of governance and protocol and things. So that's the big thing. And then how do I think you might be able to qualify for open is to try and do a trade. We don't know what the minimum requirements will be or anything, and they may never drop one, or they may start a token and only do liquidity mining, and as in like transaction mining, so you have to kind of do trades to get it. But it's worth maybe just trying it out. And you can trade with USDC, there was Uni, there's some other ETH, obviously BTC, wrap BCC. So that's one that you could try, but that's kind of at the advanced level, because as I say, options aren't easy. Can I tell you about some other ones, Drew?
Absolutely.
So the big daddy, the one we want, the one I think will be the biggest. We've had Uni, and that was big, 1 inch big. I think the biggest one could be MetaMask, because I don't know anyone that's ever done anything on Ethereum, actually done something on Ethereum that doesn't have MetaMask. It's big. And they've been hinting again, and there's lots of speculation. There's two things specifically that have made my ears prick up. Firstly, they did something very strange, and there was a little bit of uproar in the community where they took their code and changed the type of license. So usually with free open source software, anyone can fork any code, right? And they've changed the type of license that their code is issued under to stop that happening. So they're trying to build a moat around what they're building, which is interesting that they're doing that. The second thing that they've done is they've added swaps. So they've now got revenue generation within the wallet, and they charge high fees. I think it's like 3% or something crazy. It's like really high for DeFi swaps, and they're generating millions of dollars worth of revenue through these swaps, because it is easy. You don't even have to go to Uniswap or whatever, and they're an aggregator, right? So that it might be routed through Uniswap or Matcha or Sushi or any number of these. So, we mentioned Dodo before. It might be put through those, but they're going to charge kind of like a finder's fee and a routing fee to get it there and things. So that is the one. MetaMask will be big. So how do I think you might qualify? I don't think they're going to airdrop it to everyone with a MetaMask wallet, because everyone has a MetaMask wallet. So I think you're going to have to do some trades. So I have done trades on my Sybil wallet. So that, I've got 10 or more wallets, and I've done trades over $20 on those. I think I might have done over 40, but $40. But either way, I've just done a trade, and you can do very cheap trades. You can just swap into USDC or swap into anything. Just a small trade, and you're just there then, and it gives you a fighting chance if they do airdrop a token. So that's the really big one that I'm excited about. DYDX, we mentioned it earlier. Talked about open just before, about how big derivatives are. DYDX, they keep talking about decentralizing their platform. We mentioned earlier about them taking VC money, so this will be a way for the VCs to get value out of DYDX directly in an airdrop. Perpetual Protocol is a new rival. They've now started to exceed DYDX in volume, and they've only been out a month. And some of that is because they've got the Perp protocol has a token, and it's been an absolute tear. It's done like a 5x for me, in like a few weeks. And a lot of things have done 5x in a few weeks, but Perp's been really killing it. And so they'll be looking at that and seeing Perp eating their lunch. And Perp are going to bring out liquidity mining for their token on their platform, which will move even more people from DYDX. So I think DYDX will respond. So how do I think you'll qualify for DYDX? Trading on margin is so dangerous. I don't trade on margin at all. No margin for me. There's other ways that I can, get additional exposure, but I'm not trading on margin. So what I've done is I've simply deposited USDC into DYDX. So again, on my Sybil account, so I've just donated like I've just deposited 25 USDC into my wallet on DYDX. You have a separate wallet on DYDX, and that's earning anywhere between 8% and 15% interest because it's being used to for margin, but I'm not doing any trading. It's just sat there. So I'm earning a little bit of interest, and I'm hoping that will qualify me. Now, of course, again, they might not do an airdrop. They might only do liquidity. They might not even have a token, or they might have it that you had to have traded rather than just deposited. But I've decided I'd just deposit with them. Have you ever used them, Drew? DYDX?
No, I haven't. I have it pulled up really just to participate, to try it out, but also to make myself eligible for the airdrop. I pulled it up. It wasn't the most user-friendly thing. When you've got to put things into their platform to just even start, that's a big barrier to entry. And that's the difference, as you obviously know this, but just that's the difference between like, oh yeah, just make a quick trade over there. Okay, that's simple. Anybody can do that. You've done it a million times in other ways, but now it's like, then you got to put your coins on their platform, like, layer 2 style. And that also makes you think again. It's like, do I want my coins on there? I like my coins. And then you start to weigh, how much could this airdrop even be? Is it worth my gas? And it's not even guaranteed. But I'm still going to do it. I pulled it up and I was like, oh man, I need to have like a spare bit of time to just look at this, make sure I do it right. And, kind of evaluate to what extent I want to participate with the platform. Like you said, I mean, you just deposited, and I was sitting there thinking, it's like, would it be okay if I just deposited? Do I need to make a trade? Is there something I even need to trade right now, so it's not just a pointless trade? So my wheel started spinning, and then I fell off, and I just started doing other stuff.
Yeah, and that is interesting because you're not a noob, right? You are literally a professional crypto personality, right? And if there's a barrier of entry for you, then it's going to be in the way of other people, which means that maybe I'll get a bigger airdrop now that you're not doing it. Or
maybe.
But I've been helping a few friends with this stuff, and yeah, DYDX was one that tripped up some friends. They just couldn't figure out how to deposit it, and yeah, it's not user friendly. Let me tell you another one that I'm excited about, and it's a real favorite protocol of mine at the moment. It's called Zapper.fi. Now, you mentioned StakeDAO earlier. StakeDAO forked Zapper.fi. So they took Zapper.fi's code and added and modified some things, and StakeDAO haven't got things right. Everything's still broken on there, but the token still goes up anyway. So the reason that Zapper.fi has become even more interesting is because of how well StakeDAO's done, right? It's like StakeDAO, as we mentioned before, I sold at like $3.50 and it's at like 10 now. And they've got this, they've got their own kind of strategies on there. They've got liquidity mining. So yeah, Zapper.fi, and there's DeFi Dad. He's another decent personality in the space. He's helping run it. And just on that, so Zapify, it has a few competitors, which some of you listeners, watchers will have heard of before. Debank, which is run by some Chinese peoples, and Zerion or Zerion. Zerion is another like top quality product. I still prefer Zapify though. But Zapify, they've mentioned it so many times that they've talked about decentralizing, and this stake DAO thing again is just going to be pushing them. We got to get going on this.
Well, just to offer my 2 cents, like on top of yours on that is, I mean, if you think about it from their point of view, and obviously it's not all about money. To some people it is, to some people it isn't. But how could you not just be kind of like somewhere between like just irritated, pissed, jealous? I mean, they fork your stuff, they drop a coin, and now they have millions of dollars at their fingertips in their ecosystem, so much buzz and interest, and you're like, dude, I made this, you forked me. No, you like it's just how can it's similar to in essence, the way this really went down in DeFi was, we already talked about it, but Uni and Sushi. And what did Sushi do? They said, hey, come to our party, we got tokens. And then Uni's like, wow, we were planning to do this Q4 or whatever. It's like, we got to do this now, my friends.
Yeah.
And so that, like, I agree with you, that pressure's there for them to do something. And to be honest, in this kind of market, and especially since they just did that, I mean, they're probably not sleeping. They're either working all day and night on getting this prepared to go, or they're stressing out about if they should do it. And so I completely agree with you on that. And you've inspired me to make even a couple more accounts to go do a couple of swaps on Zapify. And like you said, I actually really like Zapify. I was using Debank initially, just because I found it just simple, easy, but then it wasn't picking up everything I was doing, which really like defeated the purpose. And then I had loaded it into Zapify, and I looked at Zapper a little bit, but then I was using Debank, and then I came back and I looked at Zapify again, and it was picking up pretty much all my stuff, and I was like, oh well, I won't use Debank then. But then or sorry, go ahead.
Zapper picks up far more than any other for me. They don't pick up everything I do. There's a few of the kind of more boutique stuff they don't pick up, but you can request. Like, they have a really good request platform, and I've requested stuff in the past, and they've added it because they're on the ball. And as you say, they're a cool team, cool people, trust them, and I think it'll be a good one. And if it goes anything like Stake DAO, it's going to be delicious. Just talking about Sybil, talking about creating more accounts on Zapper, they know your accounts are connected, right? So my 10 accounts, they know they're connected because of the way I'm going. So I don't know whether they will try and filter me out and say, Benny, are you kidding me right now? But equally, just because I've got 10 plus accounts, they've all done trades on Zapper, right? I've done a zap, I've done a trade on Zapper, right? All over $20 or whatever. So on the flip side, I've got different accounts, but I should still be able to get them because they're different wallets for different things, and I've done the qualifying activity, whatever that qualifying activity might be. But I think it'll either be you have to have done a zap, and/or you have to have done a trade. They have an aggregator, a trade aggregation tool on there as well.
So, and I think that brings up a good point, like a gray area is, well, one, it's a massive undertaking to try to filter out you, just you alone. But in addition to that, people who use multiple accounts, maybe you use multiple accounts like for different reasons. And is it really fair to punish you because you have a couple of different accounts doing a couple of different things when you've been participating in their ecosystem. And then there's also the thought of, what if you manage the accounts for multiple people?
Yeah.
And now you have one guy who he manages 5 accounts for whatever reason, and he's punished. He's punished because of this. And is that really fair and what you want to do?
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, these are participants in your ecosystem, for better and worse. And I mean, I'd rather award to multiple accounts in my own ecosystem than just be like, oh, and we're also going to airdrop to uni holders. But that's me personally. Like, why not reward the people that have been participating with you instead of just picking a group over here because you want the additional exposure, or whatever.
Yeah. And it's a fine line, that one, because they do want extra people using the platform, right? So they kind of want the people that are already using it, but they want to pick up people that they think are decent people from elsewhere. But and that's the fine line they have to kind of decide and choose. When they're making that decision. But just on that, operating multiple accounts, I assume, and you don't have to tell us either way, that your MetaMask will have yourself and it will have Miss Vosk's on there, and it may well have your father's. Your father might just be on crypto.com or whatever, but that you can see that happening because your home. I don't know, you're moving or you've moved now, but you might have your one computer in the house. Not everyone has lots of laptops and stuff, and so a whole family, could be using the same MetaMask. So on that point, I am hoping that my accounts, will qualify. So let me tell you about some more. Paraswap. Paraswap is a 1-inch competitor. I don't think it's as good as 1-inch. The UI is not as sleek and cool and stuff, and equally, I never get as good a price on Paraswap, but it's still well used. They've seen volumes skyrocket since 1-inch happened, and what they've seen, the really fun thing with 1-inch, right, is 1-inch have had a lot more people use 1-inch since they did the airdrop. So we were talking before, airdrops, like back years ago, used to be something you dump and never think about again, whereas now people are actually taking them. And I think it's because people are airdropping for protocols that have actual value and value accrual. But 1-inch has actually seen a lot more volume, a lot more users because of their tokenomics. And so Paraswap, again, they're going to be under a lot of pressure. They've alluded to it in tweets. They've liked my replies to them when I've highlighted what they've said and kind of put the eyes, and that so they're I think they're on track to do something. How might you qualify? Similar to 1-inch, I think you have to do a trade again over $20 at least, because 1-inch was $20. So I think I did $25 on there, but so that's a decent one. Is it going to be a long-term hold? Well, I learned the hard way with Staked DAO. In this market, you should probably be holding anything and everything. Otherwise, you're going to get burnt because stuff's going up in price. And again, they'll probably have a liquidity mining event or something. You can stake it or do something. So it's a decent one. Now, I know you don't like second layer stuff, or it's at least a barrier. Another good one is Polymarket. Polymarket's big. They've got a lot of trading going on there, and it's essentially a betting market. You can bet on real life events. People and the platform put forward events. Like there's one now. Will Trump be president on the 1st of March? And people are betting yes on that. And hey, as much as I'd like him to be president on the 1st of March, it's unlike most of my countrymen, unfortunately, it's not going to happen. Anyway, you can bet on stuff like that, and you can bet on the price of things and various other things. So, and it's big, it's doing good volume, it doesn't have a token, it's had some VCs. They've talked about decentralization. You deposit USDC. The way I did it, actually, you can Paraswap have a really good function where you can convert and send, so you can actually do it all in one transaction. So you can buy USDC and then send it somewhere. I think I might have done that through to DYDX, but either way, just as an aside on Paraswap. So Polymarket, you need to deposit. They have an additional layer of Sybil resistance, right? You have to give an email address. Just so happens I have a lot of email addresses. But There is some Sybil resistance that they're trying to stop people, but anyway, but it's a cool platform. It's once you're in, because it's layer 2, it's easy as. We've talked about open. Saddle Finance is probably going to be a big one coming up. That will they forked Curve, which some of you will know. They don't have a token. They are doing liquidity mining, but with someone else's token. Someone has donated tokens to them. I think they'll do a retroactive airdrop, but similar to Curve, it probably won't be worth that much unless you like a big whale. But it could be worth watching. There's some other stuff coming up, but they're the kind of big one. They're the ones. Put aside Saddle for a second, because that's liquidity mining, probably retroactive. But the other ones, which to go over again, we talked about open, which is the options, which is quite hard for you to do. But for noobs, MetaMask is the big one. Do a swap on MetaMask, please. I implore you. Zapify, do a swap or a zap. If you're struggling with doing liquidity mining stuff, Zapper is cool to zap in. Then you don't have to do this, you trading and stuff to try and do that. DYDX is going to be a good one. Paraswap is easy to do. Polymarket, once you've deposited, is easy. And I think, we could be sat here in a year earning, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
So, Barry.
Yes.
Which is your new name.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Can I ask you, on behalf of myself and everyone who will watch this video, can you make a Barry approved airdrop list? And I can put it below, and if you're open to it, we can make it a rolling thing. And this could be a thing, like maybe it'll take off. Maybe people will, projects will be like, hey, Barry, we want to be on the list. Okay, we're doing an airdrop. I mean, you'll be getting first scoops for you and all 100 of your accounts. But personally, I would love that. I think it'd be super, an awesome resource, and it'd be fun to link back to it, and not to even potentially give you stuff to do. I could contribute, other people in the community could contribute, but I think in addition to a list, that would be a super helpful reference. Also putting below it a recommended interaction. So you could put Zapperify on that list, and you could say there's two ways that you can potentially get this airdrop if it happens, and it would be to zap and also swap. And then that basic outline will show you that you can do one of these or do both of these for maximum chance, whatever. And then that way, I just think that'd be a really, really fun and useful resource. And then we could keep it as a rolling thing and update it as it goes. And it'll be really exciting for when, airdrops are called and then they happen, and then we can all pat you on the back and be like, hey, Barry told us this was going to happen. So again, you don't have to do this or be involved, but I'd love that.
Yeah, I think you will have seen my response on the Discord. It'll be a lot of work, but hey, I will undertake to do some work to make it easy for as many people to those people that are willing to put the work in, to do this should get some benefit, and I'm happy to share my experience and what to do. But the biggest thing people can do is to join the VoskCoin Discord, because between me and Greer, we've pretty much got almost everything covered. And you can ask us questions live. So if we can put a resource together, all the better. But join us on there and ask questions and get involved with the VoskCoin community there.
And it doesn't have to be we could even just set up a basic outline of just basically just site and just action and just that. And then people could also just come and contribute. And so it wouldn't always be something you always have to stay on top of if someone finds something else and it seems relevant at all. We could just tack it onto the list. And yeah, so I think live organic rolling lists like that and the space that just never slows down are always appealing.
Yeah, that is the problem, because it does move so quickly, and there's all these smaller ones, and I think that's where I would have to draw the line is things that I think are going to be decent. that I would be willing to put, effort and time into, and it's only because I'm, some come across my desk that I just don't do because I don't think it's worth, interacting with them. And there's a number of those, there's quite a few of those, and some of them I may regret, but the ones that I'm interested in, I'll be happy to share my experience on how I think, and what I've done.
Okay, so 2 last questions. Have you ever heard of growth DeFi?
No.
Okay. And then also, you don't have to share this if you don't want to. I know we'd briefly talked about this before, but is there some kind of roundabout percentage you could say that you've made with DeFi, or just basically, I want to make a cool, engaging, exciting thumbnail, and people they just love money. If it's if I was Barry became a millionaire using DeFi, people would click on that. If I'm interview with Barry, resident DeFi expert, that'll get half the clicks. And so I'm not trying to put you on the spot or make you a target for anything, but even just a percent, if there's anything like that I can kind of spin into a catchy thumbnail, because I've had a blast talking to you. It's super interesting, and you have just so much insight and wisdom. And above all, like I said earlier, just your passion shines through, and that's fun. And I want other people to be able to see that and experience that. And a big hurdle I battle on YouTube is just simply getting them to click. It's just you gotta, if they don't click the video, they don't watch the video, they never know. And then YouTube just shoves it down in the algorithm, and we never get the YouTube viewer drop. So
yeah, as long as I will come up with something, as long as it's not a thumbnail of us both going like this. Like that is the meme, isn't it? That's...
You know what? I'm cutting that face out. I'm doing it. I'm gonna do you dirty, Barry.
Yeah, no, the problem with the with an amount or whatnot is, as I mentioned before, Bitcoin is where I'm at. That is what I'm here for, and so the actual capital allocation to DeFi is relatively small in terms of things. So as a part of my portfolio, it's if it's probably not even 10% of what I do, and so it's that makes it harder, but it's but the gains are huge. But the problem is you make massive gains on other things, so for instance, Ren token we haven't talked about, is one of these kind of great backbones of DeFi, and that was a great, their dark nodes are just printing Bitcoin right now, and you could have picked that up at 2 cents, which is where I got it at, and it's at 60 cents, and it's been printing Bitcoin for months and months and months, and so that dark node alone is making more than all we've talked about just now, and I'm doing lots on everything else. So it's quite hard to come up with something, but equally I appreciate that we need the title. But there is times when we've made 3,000% in on things, and unfortunately the percentage you make infinite percent on an airdrop, because the cost of entry to the trade was 0, but we'll think of something.
Hey, no pressure, not to put you on the spot. We got a little bit of time, but I just wanted to bring it up. So with that, Barry, I really appreciate your time and everything, and above all, obviously, just I appreciate you always hanging out in the Discord. And super quick background is basically we made a DeFi sub channel in the Discord, and just trying to find who in our community was very active in DeFi. And whenever Barry chimed in, he just always knew what was going on. He was on the edge, and then we quickly realized, Barry, it seems like you know the way. And so that's how we ended up here with this interview on YouTube.
And there was some ginger jokes in between, I think.
Hey, I've never done you dirty like that.
Yeah, an honor to be on, Drew. As you know, and I sent you a message a while back telling you how I first came across you. mentioned I was involved in crypto Bitcoin in 2013, but got re-involved in 2017, and it was when I'd had my first child. Whilst up late at night, I essentially just watched VoskCoin videos, and I was just hooked. And I just watched everything that you had, and it had a great mix of both, knowledge, seeing your trials and tribulations. Those we were genuinely worried about tails for a while, and of course you would have been significantly more worried, of course. And then just to see that kind of grow has been fantastic. And then I was watching them again with my second child, which was fun. And then here we are talking. So it's really good to spend some time with you and talk about this. And hopefully we'll get the opportunity to do it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the pleasure is mine, and I'm looking forward to when you have your third kid, because that means the views are going to go up.
Yeah.
So, well, again, Barry, I really appreciate it. Do you have any last things to say to anyone who's been able to enjoy this? It's probably a 2-hour interview.
Yeah.
So,
if anyone's made it this far,
yeah,
and I think people
the
would prefer
survivors.
they'd prefer a 2 hours of tales, to be honest. We get the 10 seconds, we want a 2-hour compilation of tales. The kind of final thing with DeFi is it's overwhelming. It is literally overwhelming. If you look at it, as a person that's done maybe a little bit of crypto investing, you maybe bought some stuff. It can be so overwhelming, but just try it. Just try. The worst that can happen is you lose some money. So don't try and do things with a lot. Just try a little bit, have a poke around. We talked about Binance Smart Chain. It's really cheap and really easy. And everyone has Binance account. Just try it, give it a go, see where you get to, see what happens, and ask some questions, join a community. Because if you don't do it, like I regret, the 1inch thing. As I say, I only had 2 successful accounts, and I only tried 3, and I should have done a lot more. And so, there's no time like the second, the best time was yesterday, and the second best time is today to get going.
That's a good quote. That's a really good quote that like applies to DeFi. It's like, yeah, I mean, it would have been great if you did that then, but hey, it's still today. And I like that mindset, and I really try to carry that into like a lot of the stuff we work on. Is just a lot of people are like, oh, it's too late, Bitcoin's expensive. Oh, it's too late, Ethereum's expensive. Oh, it's too late, gas fees are high now. It's like, I mean, dude, that's a losing mentality, and that's what I said. Partially like when I did the last airdrop video, is like some people were mad that like that it just kind of like the little the uglier side of people came out on, not everybody, just a few, but like a little loud bunch, and they're basically just kind of rude, disrespectful, jealous, envious, whatever, because you see someone, they get an airdrop and they just made $1,000 worth of coins, and whatever they do with it is whatever they do with it. But you putting that to perspective, it's not easy to earn $1,000. I mean, that's a lot, like you said earlier, especially depending where you are in the world, that can be a massive sum of money. But just my big takeaway was just like, I mean, how can you be mad if you don't win when you're not playing the game? And it's just like, if you're not participating, why would you be rewarded? And so, and that's just the biggest thing that like I've been trying to get across lately, especially in this market that's just so, the trajectory is up, and it's so exciting and so many opportunities going on. It's just like you said, don't ever put in when anything you couldn't afford to lose, but join the party, get in, try something, participate. Even just a decentralized exchange from a user point of view is incredible. Like click and I swap my coins, and there's no one who can tell me I can't do that because I'm a US citizen. I mean, that's astonishing. People, I think some people quickly forget and lose perspective. So anyway, yeah. I could rant on, but
as could I. But yeah, people want to get to bed or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So, well, I appreciate it so much, Barry. Thanks so much for coming on, and I'm excited. I'm excited to make a super YouTube-y thumbnail with you making that crazy face you made earlier. You really messed up making that face. I'm cutting it out. And who knows? Maybe we'll have a round 2. We'll see if the people can handle your knowledge. Thanks so much, Barry.
Thank you.